Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. This is also my first time at DeepSec. And first times should be unforgettable. They can be unforgettable. Just consider this. The first love, the first concert, the first kiss, and the first man-in-the-middle attack. I remember the supposedly first time when I was man-in-the-middle attack. Do you remember yours? I had configured a client to pull logs from a web server via an SSL connection over the Tor network. After some time, as new circuits were established, a new pull request failed to connect due to a certificate error. So I dumped the server certificate I was getting from the network endpoint and found it to differ from the one I was expecting to see. And in that time I realized, oh my gosh, I'm getting man-in-the-middle attack. And the next thing I say to me is, wow, this is so cool. This is so cool. How many security philosophers have the opportunity to study their attack network flow from the inside out? First times are unforgettable, if only we could notice them. I hold dear the memory of a true positive, but this event is possibly outnumbered by the false negatives. All which is to say that current web public infrastructure is fragile. We are, as a security community, witnessing with increasing frequency incidents, vulnerabilities, dramas, and failures of the infrastructure we dare entrust our business upon. China Internet Network Information Center, Lenovo, National Informatics Center of India, ANSI, Trustwave, TrueTrust, DigiNotar, Komodo, VeriSign. In the aggregate, these and other missteps, malicious or otherwise, allow the impersonation of a number of high-profile websites, granting to the impersonating entities the ability to spy on a sizable number of unsuspecting users. So no phone memories for those of us who remain oblivious to their first time, right? This is already unfortunate, because if no silent failure is the pinnacle goal of security engineering, undetected impersonation is no measure of success in our engineering effort. As if that was not enough cause for concern, we are now discussing about building cryptographic backdoors. Go figure. I work at the intersection of software security and security software, exploring and try to contain the space of unanticipated state. I want crypto to be, let me check.
Can you put it a little bit down?
Yep, working. I want crypto to be open and robust. To me, secure backdoor sounds no more than an oxymoron, like almost safe. Can you imagine your special somebody asking you, are you safe, darling? Almost, you reply. This is not a satisfactory answer, is it? So, before going further, let's give a quick look to the agenda. We already start discussing the thorough state of the infrastructure we daily entrust our business upon. Shortly, I will introduce you to illusoryTLS, an asymmetric backdoor targeting the RSA key generation that I submitted to the first Underhanded Crypto Contest. I will use the backdoor design in order to discuss the impact and the implication that this backdoor and this class of backdoors may have on the current web public infrastructure. And before closing, I want to share with you a novel backdoor embedding algorithm using Alligator in order to do surveillance. So, crypto backdoors. This is a timely topic, open debate as a matter for a government to legislate on. For today, I propose you to approach it as a technical space that some entities might have practically explored, regardless of the policy framework. If somebody in the belief, however questionable, that a secure backdoor with a secret golden key is possible at build one, would be able to notice if our communication were being exploited, would be able to notice if our communication were being compromised. Before delving into the technical details, I would like to poll your view on crypto backdoors. If you feel inclined, please raise your hand and I recognize your view. So, how many of you think that backdoors can be asymmetric? Anyone? There? All right. And how many of you think that backdoors can be planted in data? Great. Well, still, the common view is that backdoors are symmetric in nature because they require some sort of malicious logic in the target system code base.
Okay, 16, yeah.
Which is to say that everyone with knowledge about the internals of the backdoor can exploit it, and given enough skills and effort, code review can spot their presence. Yet, the scarce research published on this field challenge this view. In fact, backdoors can be asymmetric. Their complete code does not enable anyone, except those with access to the key recovery system, to exploit a backdoor. And backdoor can be planted in data. Or to paraphrase a popular quote on homogeneity of some programming languages, backdoor is data, and data is backdoor. I ask you to consider the web public key infrastructure setting. The entire X.509 web PKI security architecture falls apart if a single CS certificate with a secretly embedded backdoor enters the certificate store or relying parties. Have we sufficient assurance that this did not happen already? While I'm not in the position to know if this already happened, I decided to explore this scenario from a both experimental and speculative point of view. And back in November 2014, 1 year ago, I submitted an entry called illusoryTLS to the first Underhanded Crypto Contest. The Underhanded Crypto Contest is a competition to write or modify code that appears to be secure, but actually does something evil. And illusoryTLS is an instance of the Yang and Jung elliptic curve asymmetric backdoor in the RSA key generation. The security outcome is the worst possible outcome because the backdoor completely perverts the security guarantees provided by the TLS protocol, allowing the attacker to impersonate endpoints, tamper with the message, actively drop their communication. The backdoor design reflects the following threat model. The backdoor designer can insert vulnerabilities into the commercial encryption system, IT system, and network endpoint communicating device using targets, influence policies, standard, and specification for commercial public key technologies, interfere with the supply chain, disregard everything about policy, or she's simply in the position to build the security module used by the certification authority for generating the key material. illusoryTLS comprised 3 modules: a very basic HTTPS client, a TLS server, and 2 certificate store. The code is part of Network Simple TLS, an Haskell library for network socket usage pattern using TLS security, and is used as is without any modification. Now, for the sake of simplicity and without loss of generality, illusoryTLS implements a simple echo service. The client sends a basic HTTP command to the server and awaits the server response. So a question is due. If the client server code is contributed by an open source project and is used as is, without any modification, where is the backdoor? I planted a backdoor in the certification authority public key certificates. The 2 communicating endpoints rely upon to mutually authenticate. And this backdoor is highly robust against reverse engineering. In particular, the upper order bits of the RSA modules encode an asymmetric encryption of a seed generated at random. The same seed was used to generate one of the RSA primes of the certification authority public key modules. Therefore, the RSA modules is at the same time an RSA public key and a ciphertext that gives to the backdoor designer, possibly only to the designer, the ability to factor with ease the said modules. This means that no backdoor was leaked into the cryptographic credential issued to the communicating endpoints. The security notion implemented by illusoryTLS is 20 years old. Adam Young and Moti Jung introduced the notion of secretly embedded trapdoor with universal protection or setup at Crypto 96. And the illusoryTLS is an instance of the Yang and Jung elliptic curve asymmetric backdoor in RSA key generation. This work built upon their research published in the Proceedings of Selected Areas in Cryptography in 2005. And the same authors published a working implementation of this attack at cryptovirology.com. illusoryTLS provides some noteworthy security properties. The first of which is the nobody but us, no bus, meaning that the exploitation requires access to resource not embedded in the backdoor itself. In this case, the secret resource is an elliptic curve private key, all which is to say that the vulnerability can be exploited by the backdoor designer and by whoever gains access to the associated key recovery system. So before moving further, I would like to ask you, how many of you believe that it's possible to forbid an enemy intelligence organization from gaining access to a private key? Well, I expect that those of you who are inclined to believe that it's possible to forbid any enemy intelligence organization from gaining access to a private key will be also inclined to regard cryptographic backdoors, at least this kind of design of cryptographic backdoors, as possibly secure. At the same time, and vice versa, I expect that those of you who are inclined to regard all measures to prevent the disclosure of the private key to be circumventable, to regard cryptographic backdoors as inherently insecure. But on the top of the nobody but us security property, illusoryTLS implements some other security properties, such as indistinguishability. As long as a computational hardness assumption called elliptic curve decisional Diffie-Hellman holds, the backdoor key pair appear to all probabilistic polynomial time algorithms like genuine RSA key pairs. Therefore, black box access to the key generator does not allow detection. Black box access to the key generator does not allow detection. And moreover, furthermore, the backdoor is for secure. So if a reverse engineer breach into the key generator, then the previously stolen information remains confidential. And this backdoor is reusable because it can be used multiple times and against multiple targets. Therefore, it's interesting to look to the impact and the implication that this kind of backdoor can have on the current web public key infrastructure. The attacker can use the certification authority private key recovered by factoring the modulus in order to break the TLS security guarantees at will, exposing the communicating endpoints to a variety of attacks, ranging from impersonation, message tampering, eavesdropping of encrypted communication whenever the attacker mounts a man-in-the-middle attack, not necessarily for the first time. This means that there's no need for the attacker to have access to the private key used by system actors, and there's no need to tamper with the communicating endpoints. What the attacker really needs to do is to retain control over the key generation of the target RSA modulus. Therefore, I wonder, is the malicious implementer a threat mitigated by IT product security certifications? Later, I will briefly review the security requirements set forth by the most common protection profile and demanded by industry organization, and I will argue why this is not the case. Before doing that, I would like to spend a few minutes longer analyzing the impact and the implication of this class of backdoor on the web public infrastructure. Because as soon as a single OCA certificate with a secretly embedded backdoor enters the certificate store relying parties, the entire TLS security becomes fictional. As you may have already found out by experience, one rotten apple spoils the whole barrel. Rotting fluid releases ethylene, a molecule transferred in the gaseous phase. And ethylene promotes fruit ripening. Now, in the X.509 setting, universal implicit cross-certification is the ethylene of trust. Almost prophetically, the structural formula for the ethylene molecule, C2H4, proves to be a schematic diagram for cross-certification. Here it is. Cross-certification enables entities in one public infrastructure to trust entities in another public infrastructure. This mutual trust relationship should be typically supported by a cross-certification agreement between the certification authority of each public infrastructure. The agreement establishes the responsibilities and the liabilities of each party. This means that whenever we have a mutual trust relationship, each certification authority is required to issue a certificate to the other in order to establish a relationship in both directions. The path of trust is not necessarily hierarchical, although the different PKIs may have certificate hierarchies. But what is important is that after two certification authorities have established and specified the terms of trust and issue the certificates to each other, entities within the separate PKI can interact subject to the policies specified in the certificates. How beautiful. But this is just theory, you know. In practice, most current public infrastructure software employs a form of implicit cross-certification in which all root certificates are equally trusted. This is equivalent to unbounded cross-certification among all certification authorities, which is to say that any certificate can be trivially replaced by a masquerader certificate from another certification authority. Therefore, the security, the real-world security of any certificate is reduced to the security of the least trustworthy certification authority, who can issue bogus certificates and usurp the legitimate one at the same level of trust. The bogus certificate issued to Egypt-based MCS holdings and installed in a man-in-the-middle proxy, as well as the Lenovo Superfish man-in-the-middle hardware, are just two recent examples of exploitation of this vulnerability. Therefore, universal implicit cross-certification, or the lack of boundaries on signer authorities, is the security or the absence of unmitigatable surprises. What ethylene is to rotting fruit. It makes the PKI as weak as the weakest link. Now, an asymmetric backdoor with the promise of exclusive exploitation may attract multiple attackers. And with multiple attackers going after a technical opportunity, the nobody but us security paradigm will quickly turn into the everybody else but me security concern for those left behind. A race to exploitation may ensue, leading to a Me Too effect, a scenario that will negate any meaningful security whatsoever. And No Security is a pretty good album, by the way. Therefore, while dealing with this class of attacks in the X.509 setting, it's not sufficient anymore to don't outsource the key generation to other parties. But it becomes crucial and essential to have an assurance about the security of each implementation of vulnerable key generation algorithm employed by trusted credential issuers. At this time, in OSX El Capitan, we have 188 trusted certification authorities installed. And a similar number of certificates, certification authority certificates, are present in the Firefox, Google Chrome, and Microsoft Windows certificate store. Have we sufficient assurance about the hundreds certification authority we daily entrust our business upon? The CA Browser Forum requires publicly trusted certificates to be issued in compliance with the European standard EN 319-411-3. According to the standard, the CA key generation is to be carried out within a device that meets the requirements identified by some approved protection profile. Signed Workshop Agreement 14167 Part 2, 3, and 4 are three of those protection profiles. The assurance evaluation level is EL4 augmented. Augmentation comes from adherence to three additional security requirements. These security requirements are focused on assessing the vulnerabilities in the target of evaluation and guaranteeing that the implementation representation is an accurate and complete instantiation of the target evaluation security function requirements. Special emphasis is placed on identifying covert channels and estimating their capacity, which is fortunate because setup attacks exploit the key generation as a covert channel for itself. But at the end of the day, it's the developer to be in charge for the vulnerability assessment at documentation phase. And this clearly conflicts with our threat model, right? The evaluator is left with the documentation and the implementation representation to be assessed. So can the presence of backdoor can be ruled out at the required assurance level? If the evaluation was to be carried out at higher levels, the evaluator could have used formal methods. This would be helpful. But at EL4, the implementation representation may render backdoor detection likely. Just think about how difficult can be to spot the presence of malicious logic, look into the hardware description language provided at the sign time, or the netlist provided at the fabrication time. Therefore, the key takeaway I would like to leave you with for today is that as long as the implementation of RSA, or more generally other algorithms vulnerable to this class attacks, cannot be used by trusted entities, cannot be audited by relying parties, any trust anchor for the same trusted entities is to be regarded as a potential backdoor. Which is to say that as long as the implementation algorithms adopted by a certification authority are vulnerable to this class of backdoors cannot be audited by relying parties, the assurance provided by illusoryTLS, none whatsoever, is not any different from the assurance provided by systems relying on TLS and RSA certificates for origin authentication, confidentiality, and message integrity guarantees. A number of mitigation exist on paper, ranging from key pinning to proper explicit cross-certification. But at this time, none of them has been widely deployed yet. But let's look to the funny part, because the subtleness of the backdoor planted in cryptographic credential resides in the absence of malicious logic in the system what security it erodes. No malicious logic in the communicated endpoints. Admittedly funnier, though, is the backdoor embedding algorithm. Therefore, today, I would like to share with you another way to embed an asymmetric backdoor into the RSA key generation. A few weeks after my submission to the Underhanded Crypto Contest, Ryan Castellucci shared his attack variant on GitHub. So I would like to start from this. The basic idea is to embed the curve 25519 public key into the key generator and generate an ephemeral curve 25519 key at random. Using these two keys, it's possible to compute a shared secret using elliptic curve defilement. Using the shared secret, we can seed a cryptographically secure pseudo-random number generator based on AES running counter mode. And using this generator, we can generate a standard RSA key pair. The attacker then replaced 32 bytes of the generate modulus with the ephemeral curve 25519 public key and used this quantity and the original prime factors to compute two new primes leading to the new modulus embedding the ephemeral public key. It can output the backdoor key pair. In order to recover the key material, the attacker can start extracting the ephemeral curve 25519 public key from the target modulus, compute the shared secret via elliptic curve defilement. In order to do this, of course, need to have access to the private key associated to the public key embedded in the key generator, therefore the nobody but us security property. And using this two keys, using the shared secret, the attacker can seed again the same cryptographically secure pseudo-random number generator and generate a standard RSA key pair. The attack moves further, replacing 32 bytes of the target modulus with the ephemeral curve 25519 public key, and using this quantity and the original prime factors to compute two new primes leading to the target modulus embedding the ephemeral public key. And the attacker succeed because the attacker can output the recover RSA key pairs. While the idea is nice, the key pair generated using this algorithm falls short in terms of indistinguishability. Therefore, the scheme should be regarded as broken. In fact, it's easy to tell backdoor certificates apart from genuine RSA certificates using only black box access. Does anybody see why this is the case? Please raise your hand. Nobody? Well, what we are doing here is to embed a public key into the RSA modulus. But elliptic curve public key are points on the curve. And elliptic curve points can easily be distinguished from uniform random strings because they satisfy the elliptic curve equation. So the evaluator can simply check if the coordinates encoded using the candidate 32 byte substrings of the modulus satisfy the elliptic curve equation. Is it possible to repair the backdoor? How we can do that? Yes?
Choose a random announce of 32-bit X point on an elliptic curve key. You know the random string, but the evaluator not.
Sure. This is an idea of masking the quantity with random nonce, but if the attacker breaks into the key generator, can recover that quantity. So it's suboptimal from a architecture perspective.
That's like you have your random key generator. So the first round of the random key generator is used for the nonce.
If you don't want to leave trace of that nonce somewhere, you need to communicate it. So you need additional space into the key material in order to embed that quantity. My intuition is the following. If we could make the elliptic curve points indistinguishable from random strings, then the backdoor indistinguishability would be retained, right? Designed by Daniel Bernstein, Anna Krasnova, Mike Hamburg, and Tanya Lange in order to make anti-censorship protocols undetectable, Alligator provides a method for encoding points on a single curve as strings indistinguishable from uniform random strings. Now, this is very interesting to me because all cybersecurity technology is inherently dual use. This long-held and well-sustained belief is corroborated by Alligator. Just like all cybersecurity tools, undetectability of core points can be used for good or ill, for censorship circumvention, or for surveillance. But I believe that we can positively contribute to the discussion practice of information security by walking the fine line between offense and defense. And in this spirit, I took the time to write the Python bindings to Alligator, an implementation of Alligator supporting curve 25519, and rewrote the backdoor embedding algorithm in order to make sure that backdoor key material is indistinguishable from genuine RSA key pair. And the attacker works as follows. We start embedding a curve 25519 public key into the key generator and generate an ephemeral curve 25519 key at random and associate uniform representative string. Using these two keys, we can compute the shared secret using elliptic curve defilement and use the shared secret to seed a cryptographically secure pseudo-random number generator based on AES running counter mode. Using the generator, we generate an RSA key pair and replace 32 bytes of the generate modulus with a representative string associated with the ephemeral curve 25519 public key. This representative string is indistinguishable from a uniform random strings. Therefore, the key material will be undistinguishable from a genuine RSA key pair. Using the original prime factors, we can compute two new primes leading to a new modulus embedding the uniform representative string and output the backdoor RSA key pair. The key recovery attacks works as follows. The attacker starts extracting the representative string from the target modulus, mapping the representative string to the candidate ephemeral curve 25519 public key, and computing the shared secret using the private key associated to the public key embedded into the key generator. The attacker used this shared secret to seed a cryptographically secure pseudo-random number generator and generate a normal RSA key pair. Replace 32 bytes of the generate modulus with a representative string found in the target modulus, and starting from this quantity at the original prime factors, can compute two new primes leading to the target modulus embedding the uniform representative string. And we are there. We can output the recover RSA key pair. And that's pretty much it as far as the theory, that the attack goes. And the code published on GitHub works, so please use it responsibly. Before concluding, I have one last remark to make. I would like to close with Vincent van Gogh, who once said, "Though I often in the depth of misery, there is still calmness, pure harmony, and music inside me. If you, like me, believe that insecurity or the presence of unmitigatable surprises is the misery of our time, if you, like me, believe that insecurity is the misery of our time, and at the same time, you, like me, are also sanguine about our ability to attain better security trade-off, and to give to our children the ability to reach confidence in the process, to which they will entrust their business. Then we can paraphrase Vincent van Gogh and say that though we are often in the depth of insecurity, there is still calmness, pure harmony, a music inside us. Thank you.